Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Every month I give my patrons a theme to make a piece based on, and this month we went with flowers, so I thought I'd do something kind of floral today. I'm going to make kind of a geometric flower with a Ethiopian opal in the center, so we'll see how that turns out. I think it'll be a fun project, probably in the beginner to intermediate range, and let's get started. Let's see what we got in the sketchbook today. Filled up about 5 of these now. Here's what we're going to go on today. Alright, so let's take a look at what I sketched up in the stone that I have. Here's the stone. It's an Ethiopian opal. It's pretty translucent. I may put a back on it. I think if you sometimes if you set it on something, silver to see how it looks versus what it would look like if it was just up in the air. It's pretty clear, so I think putting something behind it will make this one look better. You could even put something black. If you had some black onyx or something, that kind of will bring out some of the color in it too. I don't know if I have anything like that laying around that I can use, so we'll probably just put a piece of shiny silver behind it. So we'll make a bezel for that first. I'll use 26 gauge fine silver bezel strip in 3/16 of an inch. That's 4.76 millimeters by 0.41 millimeters, I believe. This stuff that we're going to make the frame for our flower here is going to be 16 gauge square wire that I've flattened to about 0.66 millimeters. You could also just use, I suppose, little strips of, I think that's 22 gauge sheet if you wanted to create the same effect. Or just pound flat some square wire to get it kind of have a narrow profile, or a narrower than it would. I went ahead and made it the star part in the center. It's a little bit bigger than this, so this isn't going to be perfectly to proportion. But I was kind of experimenting to see how difficult it would be to do that. And here's my little starter star. So really, we'll be making a bezel, then we'll be adding these spokes coming out from there, and then some little half circle kind of pieces that go in between them, and then we'll just add a bail. And I think I'll mount the bezel right there. The stone isn't perfectly round, so it's a little bit oval, so I'm going to mount it oval facing upwards, I think, like that. So it'll be kind of, it may actually fit in here. If not, it'll fit. No, it's going to be right on top of it, probably. So I think that'll give it a little pizzazz, make it look like the center of a flower. This looks sort of like a columbine to me, even though I was really trying to just get a geometric looking kind of flower, because I've done lots of flowers over the years, and I thought this would be a fun one to try, just to do something kind of angular. Alright, well, let's get started. Let's make a bezel for this first. I'll find some of that 26 gauge sheet, or bezel material. Here it is. This is that 16 gauge that I ran through the rolling mill to thin it out to 0.66. So I like to flatten square wire. Because it makes for a narrow profile from the front, so you can get some fine details and some designs when you do things. But if it's still thick this way, it makes it a lot stronger than if you were using real skinny wire. So I kind of like that. I started doing that a few years ago. I don't know why I never started doing this before. Just starting the YouTube channel and having to come up with different ideas all the time, I guess. Size on this one. I always leave about an extra fingernail's width of bezel material so I can file it down flat. Still have it the right size. Probably just going to use some 26 gauge sheet for the bottom. It doesn't have to be particularly thick for this one. and that's 0.41 millimeters. If you haven't been to my channel before, here's some information about my solder and my torch and everything. I used to kind of recite that every time, but it's easier just to put a little note up there on the editing process. Also, if you're new to this, you're always welcome to leave a comment and ask a question. I do answer my comments, so I don't know everything, but if I know the answer to your question, I'll try and tell you. I bought this batch of Ethiopian Opals at the last show, and I was looking for something for this one that was, you know, perfectly symmetrically round, but this one was close. None of the ones I bought this time for opals were symmetrical. They were all kind of freeformish. That's pretty good. Okay, let's put a bottom on there. Okay, I have some 26 floating in here somewhere. Some people use a whole bunch of little tiny ones of these. I usually don't. Because they're going to be behind where the stone goes anyway, so nobody will ever see them, even if it's a little messier. I think when you're new at this, bezels are kind of challenging. Usually you get one or two really good, and then you start screwing up and melting a whole bunch of bezels. And that's normal, so don't get too discouraged. You just got to get, you know, when it happens, you need to stop and think about what went on to cause it. Generally, it's overheating one area and not heating another area enough. So we're not having the torch close enough or too close, or just not paying attention when things start to flow and leaving the heat on for too long. So there's a lot of different ways you can mess up at first. After a while, you start to do most of them automatically, the things you need to do to prevent them from happening, and then all of a sudden it becomes much easier. It's like, you know, you can drive for 2 hours and not be just in your head and drive perfectly fine and fully aware of your surroundings, but those automatic things that you've learned to do over the years while you're driving, so you don't have to think about it all, don't even really register in your conscious brain. So same way with anything, once you start doing it enough, it becomes automatic. They used to call those when you'd have a series of things that you tell a computer to do automatically, so it would go through a series of steps to save you having to do it manually. I think it was called a macro or something like that. It's like a macro in your brain. You just automatically do the stuff you need to do so you can focus just on what you're making and the design you're trying to accomplish. So now let's talk about the flower itself. I can set this off to the side for now, the stone and everything. The way that I made this is each one of these is just a little triangle. That's from here to here, here to here, here to here, each one of those. And I took a piece of about 10 millimeter wire lengthwise, and in the center of each one I filed a slot so that I could bend it more sharply there, kind of a 45-degree angle like this, and then bent it and soldered it closed like that. And then I lined them up like this and filed the ends so that they matched up nicely. And it's not a perfect star, but it's pretty good. You know, good enough for what we're doing here. The next thing I'm going to do is I need to make these little pointy parts that come out. So we're going to do the same thing, cut a piece of wire, and I already figured out about how long I wanted it to be for this. It's about twice that. And so right in the center of it, I'll use, this is the template that I made, and I'll use it to cut a few other ones so that we have enough to go all the way around and get them pretty close to the same size. But on the side of this, we'll cut a notch so we can bend it pretty sharply. We have to do kind of a wider angle here because we want to be able to bend it further this way. And then we'll solder it closed so it can't be unbent then anymore. And then we'll solder them to the sides. Then we'll add those little rounded parts. So let's use this as a gauge for the next one. File this end flat. These ended up being almost 2 centimeters, if I remember right. 19 millimeters, 18.5 millimeters, kind of in that range. Sometimes to get a more accurate measurement, I'll use a marker. That way I can make a little scratch. And see exactly where to cut and file it down to. And right here to where to make that mark. I had a thought too. I might make this sort of multi-tiered. Like I might have these sitting slightly on top of these ones here, so it gives it a little bit more three-dimensionality. And then these other 2 layers behind. We'll see how that works out. We may do that. I'm going to cut an extra one just to be safe. Always good to have one extra in case you mess up. Okay, so I'm going to set him to the side just so we have a backup. I bent one earlier to be about the right size. I want it to kind of sit just like that. Or, you know, we may decide to do it like that. I don't know. Decisions. Either way, we need to get these ones filed in the center, so let's do that. So now what I usually do when I'm doing small ones like this, so I'm going to use my half round file. I get it started right on that spot. I'm doing it on the side. On the wider side. Try and get that where you can see it. And then what we're going to do is just... I did one earlier and I lost a hold of it in my pliers and it went spring over there and I never found it. So this one I drew around it so I could make them about the same. I can see that I didn't have this perfectly centered. I'll do both of these ones and then I'll probably make the rest off camera. So this one's just slightly off center, and if it's much more off center than that I would redo it again. And I may, we'll see if I have, since I have an extra one, if I get it better in the center I'll use one of those, but if not I'll file it shorter on this side and I'll make them all just a little bit shorter. So now those can't be bent back the other way. So. Alright, so I'm going to make the rest of those off camera and then we'll come back and we'll start soldering them together. So so I have all of those made. I think they're pretty close. But remember I said I was going to put them in 2 layers, so I could just solder them like that, but I think I want it to have a little bit more depth to it. So I'm going to use a magnesia block. Push this down into just a little bit. That looks pretty straight. Let's see if we can get those on there. Okay, I'm going to pull this off and we'll cool it off and see how good of attachments we have. It's not too bad. Let's see if we can get those soldered together. I may just use a little paste solder on this one, maybe some medium paste solder if I still have some left. I thought I felt something move, but that feels solid. Now we need to make some like 2/3, 1/3 of a circle, or something like that. That'll work probably. Okay, let's do the little black marker thing so we get a more precise measurement. Shorter. That looks pretty good. Let's try and duplicate that over and over again. Now let's get that one on there first. Okay, and let's make a little jump range at the top here. That looks pretty good. So let's solder that on there. Then we'll add a kind of a standard bail. If you're interested in seeing the kind of standard bail I usually use, I'll put a link up there for you. Okay, I'll get that bail and get this pickled, and then we'll set the stone. So we got everything polished up and got the stone ready to set. I do this a little differently than some. I use the flat side of my chain nose pliers that I've kind of polished up as a bezel pusher. So we'll just kind of push that against that opal carefully. And then the last stage, we'll be using the rounded outer part of these to kind of burnish the top of that bezel. We're going to do it very carefully since we have an opal in here. Opals can be a little bit delicate. Don't want to slip and scratch anything. Put that on a chain. Try and get some better pictures of it. That's kind of what I had in mind. The proportions are a little bit different, but overall I'd give myself an A- on that one. I kind of like the way it's raised up in multi-levels like that. That gives it a little bit more depth. And I think that moves nicely in the light and that'll catch attention. So there you go. There's my floral piece for my Patreon this month. Tell me what you would have done. Tell me how you might have done it differently. I'd always love to hear other people's methods of doing things. And tell me whether you liked it or not. I kind of like this one. Like I've said before, I don't always love everything that comes out, but I think I do like this one. So sometimes simple is pretty. Well, that was the geometric flower pendant with the Ethiopian Opal project. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'd love it if you'd hit the like button before you go. That really helps to get my channel promoted, and I appreciate that. I'd also love it if you'd go visit my main channel page. I have well over 600 videos now. I do 3 per week, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, and one on Saturday generally, so there's a constant stream of pretty decent content coming out for you. There's almost certainly something else interesting or useful over on my channel page, so check out some of those videos and make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you as a subscriber as well. It makes it easier to find my videos, and you can even click the notifications button, which will allow you to get notifications whenever I release a video. So it doesn't cost anything, and it helps me out a lot too. So I'd like to thank a couple of groups of people. My patrons over on Patreon are my core group of supporters, and without this and without their support, I probably could not accomplish what I'm doing here, so thank you for that. Thank you also for creating such a nice environment over there. I learned so much from you guys, and I really appreciate all of the wisdom you're willing to share with me, and I hope I'm reciprocating some. So we have a new one, Lucas. Thanks for signing up. I think you'll find that that's a great group of people over there, so enjoy tapping into their knowledge base as well. My YouTube subscribers, we just passed 27,800, which is amazing. Thank you for that. I couldn't do it without my YouTubers either, because that's where everybody first finds me, I think. And I appreciate the lovely comments that you leave. I also really appreciate the financial help. Buy me a coffee, super thanks, merch purchases, and buying my ebook. All of that stuff makes my channel sustainable, and I really appreciate it more than you know. Before you leave, make sure to hit the video description down below. There's some important links there. There's a link to my merch store if you want to get yourself one of those nice design idea sketchbooks or some other merch. There's a link to my Patreon, should you be interested in finding out more about that community and the various tiers of membership. And finally, there's a link to buy my newest ebook, which is a guide to all of the videos I did during 2025. It includes a page for each one with a link to the video. It also, on each of the pages, includes a picture of the sketch that I drew prior to doing the project, a picture of the final outcome, a list of materials that it takes to make the project, stone information if there's a stone in it, a difficulty rating, and some notes I took about it, including things like, did I learn something important from it, or would I have done it differently if I was to do it again, or did I even like the outcome? Sometimes I don't necessarily like what I produce. You sometimes visualize things in your mind and they don't turn out the way that you'd hoped. So stuff like that is all included in that book, and I think it's a great way to have a lot of projects right at your fingertips and a really nice way to support my channels. You can even get a multiple pack with all 3 years that I've done that for, 2023, 2024, and 2025. I think you get $15 off the total if you do that. So, and thank you for watching as well. So take care. Happy silversmithing.